Welcome to issue 223 of Critical Encounters, a podcast about Marvel Champions, a living card game by Fantasy Flight Games. Here, we take a good look at that most critical piece of the game, the encounter sets. We'll discuss those poorly understood characters, unfairly labeled villains, and their various plans to shape humanity and benefit the planet, as well as those so-called heroes intent on thwarting them. I'm one of your hosts, Scott, and with me is Steve.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello. I love your dulcet tones in the lair, sir.
Thank you. And Mike.
Shouldn't you be sweeping?
Yes, sir. Everything is spick and span. I have washed every dish. I have swept every floor. I have mopped twice. I even mopped the ceiling.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That's above and beyond.
Good job.
I mean,
Keep doing that.
I mean,
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. I'm not allowed to stop.
I was going to say, I do appreciate the, let's call it work ethic you have put in since your little foible.
Rest assured, it is completely involuntary.
Well, that's how we like it.
Oh, yeah. We'll see how things go, too. Because I noticed, what is that around your neck? It looks like...
Yeah, I've been trying to... I'm going to be honest because I'm not allowed to lie. Otherwise, it electrocutes me. So I kind of was trying to wiggle out of my crown a little bit earlier, and it's really tight. It's like kind of constricting my brain a little bit. But Mike made sure
it's
that
kind
it
of
was
like
on
a
the
Chinese
real
finger
good.
trap.
Yeah, the more I wiggled, the more it kind of slid down over my face, and now it's just sort of slowly encroaching on my throat. It's not a big deal. I mean, if y'all wanted to take it off, that'd be amazing.
Let's see how things go tonight first. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it looks good, Scott. It looks really good on. Just want you to know.
I've been known to rock a slave collar from time to time.
Wow.
Good night, kids.
And will that make final cut? We'll see. All right. Oof, that was good.
Anyways,
So Daniel,
Yeah.
I've been wondering,
Mhm.
what's on your mind tonight?
A couple things, to be honest. Actually three things. Two are related. So I was a little wounded. I'm gonna be honest about the community response to what I wanted for my villain costume. Like I thought
we were wounded too. Our eyeballs and our brains. Go on.
Listen, I was trying to honor myself and my new getting in shape and I was celebrating me a little bit in that response. And then boy, just the shaming, the community shaming, including Kylo Vader ringing in, who asked the question in the first place. So he responds. So what's on my mind I see is both my emotional wounds plus an email, and then there's another thing after that. So Kylo Vader wrote back in because we had asked, what do you want to wear, right? We asked that. So he says, "Hello there, fellow villains." Which is he allowed to say fellow villains? I mean,
No.
really? No.
No.
Okay.
No.
So
He,
I'm going
It's
to
like
change
Scott
that
saying
to
he's a villain.
yeah. I'm going to change
does-
that to "Hello there, villains." How's that?
We're going to assume he's using that term in the same way that you would describe, say, like a university fellow. That is to say, a villain with a certain degree of
villainy?
astuteness.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
So he says, "Thank you so much for answering my question on the recent episode, Spiral. Loved all your responses, though Daniel's choice of blood made me question things." See,
Mhm.
Anyway. Well, you asked for my follow-up answer to my own question, so here it is. I'd choose to steal one of Kingpin's suits, assuming I can even fit in one. I feel like the man has some of the best tailored stuff in the Marvel Universe, and I think I could pull off quite a dashing look in one of his suits. I'd look better because I wouldn't be as muscular as the Kingpin, preferably a white suit. I think that would look cool to walk into a casino or high-end place with, and if I had a second choice, I'd take Taskmaster's. It's a bit wild and eccentric, but doesn't that look like a skull mask and a cape? Anyway, thanks for answering my question on the show. Keep up the good, and by good I mean villainous work. Kylo Vader 777. Thanks, Kyle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
I think he's
Thank
trying
you
to say
so much.
who doesn't like a skull mask and cape.
Right?
He's right. Yeah. Taskmaster looks pretty awesome. That's a good pick.
Yes, very good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kingpin is an excellent pick as well.
Yeah. And you just
He
have
is.
it tailored to fit. Yeah.
D'Onofrio is so great. I love him in that role. Anyway, my other thing I want to talk about. So Steve and Mike, This might be more meaningful to you. You know how like I would open my window in the office and the crickets would come in?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
you
That can
loved it.
happen?
You guys loved that. You thought it was great.
absolutely loved it.
So
Amazing.
my window is open tonight again. So all we have now is just a helicopter going around and around. I hope that picks up. But soon,
No Brood 12 and 17 and
yes.
Oh, there will
that's
be.
coming. That's coming. Now I
You
can't
got
remember.
2 of them coming.
Yeah, 2 at the same time. There's like the 17-year brood and like an 11-year brood, and they're all popping out at once. And I'm keeping this window open, baby, because that's going to be it'll be like a Taylor Swift concert.
And
So what you're telling me is that you feel like you are performing before an enormous crowd,
Mhm.
and that's stoking your ego.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Makes you feel
Absolutely.
good.
That's how I'm going to
It's nice.
assume. I'm going to assume the cicadas are doing that. But yeah, it's going to be wild. This town has their cicadas, and it's pretty cool. So
yeah, we need to do a show on the Chitauri at the same time.
oh, that would be good.
Or there is something called the Brood, right? I mean,
There
in
is.
Marvel. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'll take some pictures because they'll be basically blanketing the city. It's
Yeah.
wild.
You need to get some audio that we can use for the Brood episode when it comes.
Oh, it'll be
finally,
there.
at some point.
It'll be there. It'll just be my track for the night. So, all right. But that's what's on my mind. Thank you, Kyle Vader. Great to hear from you again. But Steve, there's more than what's on my little mind tonight, right?
Yeah. Folks will have figured out we are done with the Mutant Genesis wave. We are done with the Mojo Mania pack. We are moving on, and we are moving on to the next evolution wave. We're going to do X-Force and, Next Evolution and all those Nemesis sets that go with it. So in order to kick that off, we are going to have a contest. We have not done a contest in a little while, so it is contest time. Since we're going to be doing the Next Evolution wave, we're just going to give away a Next Evolution campaign box. So the whole box, and you could win the entire box.
So
Wow.
very generous.
Thanks to our generous patrons. So thank you to the patrons who donate and give us the, help keep the lights on and keep us going. And this is one of those times when we have enough funds where we can do this. So we're trying to
That's
give
great.
back to our community, loyal listeners, and
Wait.
some of those heroes out there too.
Steve,
So-
aren't we supposed to exploit our friendly minions, and they're the ones that give away the prize?
But we make more than this. Like,
Yeah. Jeez, this is like the pizza party the boss gives you after record-setting profits at the corporation.
I see. Got it.
Okay.
Good analogy. Good.
Yeah. Okay.
Steve, what percentage of our listeners don't already own this? I'm just curious. What do you think?
I don't know. I do see on Facebook though people, commenting about just getting a box or I just got this hero pack. So I hope there are people out there who don't have this and want to get it, or even maybe they have a friend who plays and doesn't have it. They can turn them on to the contest and turn them on to listening to us. So that's my hope here.
Great.
Yeah, I know it's been out for a little while, but still hope people will want it. So how do you do this contest? First, we just would like you to go out to any of our social media, like and subscribe, ring the bell, make a comment, leave a review for us on iTunes, on any podcast player. We're just asking you to do that. Just help us out, get the word out there so people will listen to us some more. And on our various social medias, you will find a link to a Google form where we're going to ask you the question. And what we're going to do, I'll tell you what the question is in a second, but what we're going to do is we're going to let each host choose one or two of our favorite answers, and then we will randomly choose from among them. So we're going to narrow it down because, we'll be inundated with like thousands of entries, and we'll narrow it down, and then we'll randomly choose from those smaller pool. Okay. So we know that some people aren't going to want to win this because they already have it, but they still want to participate. So there will be a little checkbox on there that says like, don't include me in the contest, but I still want to submit my answers, which is great because we're going to try to read ones that we really like and things like that. So you can go out, you can do that. Okay.
Got it.
So what's the question? Here, this was, I think Mike came up with this mostly.
yeah. Well, I saw the words "Next Evolution," so I had to do this.
Right. So what we want you to do is to go out and evolve a previous villain. Make it mutate
Give
it.
him a facelift.
Yeah. Maybe some new stats, some new abilities. You can feel free to include additional setup cards. Maybe it's a villain in the main scheme. Maybe there's a environment card or something like that. You don't need to make cards. You don't need to do artwork. Just the text is fine. Make it so we understand what's going on. It's easy to read. We'll make sure there's plenty of spots in that form for you to put your things in. If you do make cards, awesome. Submit those too. They're always fun to look at. So we're going to be looking for is the next evolution of this villain fun? Is it thematic? Does it feel balanced? Because anybody can just go out and pander to us and say, hey, Claw's got a 12 scheme and a 12 attack now, right? Like, that's not what we're looking for. That sort of thing. So
Yeah,
hopefully,
don't do that.
maybe do that if you want Mike's vote. Anyways, where's Mustafa? So that's what we're looking for. The next evolution of a previous villain that is not part of the next evolution wave. Somebody that we have talked about on the show. So.
Wow, that's a great. I already know that we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
And how long do the people have to complete this contest?
That's a great question, Scott. Mike, did you force him to do that? Did you use the collar on him?
Yeah, always.
Always. Okay. We're gonna give folks a couple weeks to do this. I know folks will need a little extra time, so let's say probably 2 weeks after this episode comes out, you'll be able to find the link. You'll have a couple weeks, and then we'll close it down after that. I think 2 weeks sounds fair, right? Right, folks?
No.
That way we can get the box into people's hands sooner than later as well.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, that's the plan then.
Right on.
But what's the plan for tonight, Daniel? What's going on?
Well, I'm not really sure. I mean, Scott's here, but I thought it was to clean the toilets, but he's got papers in front of him. So I don't really know what's happening. Mike? I mean,
Yeah, no one had volunteered to do this next lore, so I thought, why would I do the work when I can just con one of our minions into doing the work? He thinks he can get out of his collar this way.
Nice.
All right.
I'm quickly understanding that promises made may not be kept.
Well-
more call them potentialities, Scott, not promises.
You're still in
Yes,
training.
I'm still in training. Yes, I'm learning. Yes, thank you. It is my joy to be scammed.
Well, and since we are starting the next evolution wave, let's start with our first Nemesis out of the box. We're going to look at Cable's Nemesis, and Scott is here to do all the work for us. So, Scott, take it away.
Excellent. So we are talking about Cable's Nemesis, Stryfe. Who can warrant a guess on the first appearance of Stryfe in the Marvel Comics?
Oh,
I'm
I don't even
I'll date
know.
it around the X-Men stuff of early 90s. That would be my guess.
I'm going to go 89.
89. Close. So early 90s, 89. What's the last?
When did Stryfe first appear? He appeared in 1993, August 12th.
Wow.
So that is the most specific answer, but that does not in fact make it the most accurate.
Darn it. Darn it.
But it might in fact be what did you guess, Steve? I think you guessed 89, was that correct?
Mike said 89, yeah.
I said 89. I
Yes,
said 93.
That I think that is technically maybe the closest or thereabouts. So it first appeared in X-Force, issue number 1, which began in 1991.
I said early
there
90s.
Yeah, so yes, but that is a vague enough answer that it doesnn't count, Dan.
Wow. 91 is as early 90s as it gets.
He is learning.
Technically, I believe early 90s is anything from 1990 to about 1994. So I'm going to give this one to Mike. Technically,
This is like when Steve
mean,
poaches my answers.
He said 89, 91 is 2 years. I said 93,
Yeah,
that's 2 years. I don't know.
I don't know.
but you
Mike
said
said
all
wrong
that
rules,
decade.
fella.
93.
Price is
Wrong
right rules.
decade.
Price is Right rules?
I'm-
Yeah, okay. Then I
let's-
concede
Now,
to Mike.
I did not say Price is Right rules. I will say that Mike is holding the remote to my collar.
I was going to
Just-
say,
Oh,
Mike has some kind of power over Scott that we don't understand.
yeah.
I can
Well, we understand it. We just can't get control of it. So.
Well, when he sleeps. All right.
Okay,
So
go on.
1991 is when Stryfe first fully enters on the scene. From my research, it looked like maybe he had appeared slightly earlier in the New Mutants comic run, but when I read that volume, I did not see him in there, so it might have been one of those, much like Sinister, where he is a shadow in the background, but doesn't fully appear. It looks like his first appearance is with the beginning of X-Force. And who is the leader of X-Force? Cable. So right off the bat, we have Cable and Stryfe battling against one another. And this is a story bursting with the juices of one of comics' favorite tropes. Yes, I reckon you've guessed it. Time travel.
Yay!
Time stuff.
Hey.
In order to go back to the beginning of this story, we must first go back to the future.
Next Saturday night, we're sending you back to the future.
Doc! Great Scott! No, not that future, Marty. We must go all the way to the 39th century, where Cable was taken by the Lady Ascani to protect him from Apocalypse's technovirus. It's in that time where Cable grows and eventually becomes a member of Clan Chosen, fighting against the dictatorship, the noble leadership of the New Canaanites, who were led by none other than Stryfe, who had taken over after Apocalypse's death at Cable's hands, who was then known as Nathan Dayspring Ascani's son, which may show up in some of the cards. That Ascani's son characteristic is part of his name.
Yeah, I guess what I call that card is totally not appropriate. So, okay.
So in time, both Cable and Stryfe travel back in time. So they do battle, they fight against one another, and eventually Cable travels back into the past in an effort to prevent the future that he knows from coming to pass. But unbeknownst to him, somebody else has also journeyed into the past. Everybody's favorite nemesis, Stryfe. Stryfe leads the Mutant Liberation Front, which is a mutant terrorist group dedicated to achieving Stryfe's mysterious goals, and Cable leads X-Force to fight against him in a new time and place. Now, X-Force is seeking out Stryfe and his minions, but really, Cable knew that Stryfe had traveled back in time even before that. Some 10 years previous, before where we pick up in the comics in X-Force, Cable had been part of a team called the Six Pack. It was a team of mercenaries. They were guns for hire completely, rolling in, shooting places up, leaving bombs, hightailing it out of there and getting paid. There was no care, no concern whatsoever in terms of who their casualties were. They were there to make a dime and to make a good dime. And that was it. And early on, already, he's teamed up with Domino in that mercenary group, and there were a handful of others who end up coming up later. One of them ends up being a general. And they come across Stryfe when they are trying to secure a opium route for a capitalist billionaire, right, who's
Real
basically
heroic.
moving drugs from real heroic, moving drugs from Afghanistan through Iran, I think. And so they're there to secure it. And as they're fighting, they happen to come across some weird steel built into the canyon wall. And they explore, and that is where Cable first encounters Stryfe, much to his chagrin. And when he encounters him, he immediately seeks to kill Stryfe, sacrifices everything. Stryfe takes one of his men captive. Cable doesn't care, still tries to kill him. Stryfe throws them aside, casts them aside like they're nothing. A handful of his folks make it out of there, but the collateral damage is severe. And his team obviously has absolutely no trust in Cable after that. And this is a story that's going to continue, right? Stryfe doing his thing, Cable chases him down, builds a team, finds him, and once again plays straight into this cunning villain's hands. As Cable is forced to go on the run eventually because his teams are falling apart around him and nobody trusts him anymore. I mean, Cable is very clearly a so-called hero. Meanwhile, Stryfe is slowly and meticulously gathering the pieces that he needs to carry out his grandiose plan. Finally, sometime later, Cable's been on the run, laying low, nobody knows where he is, and nobody knows who Stryfe is at this point. And suddenly Cable appears in a crowd at a concert where Xavier is speaking. But Cable's intentions are not exactly good. As a matter of fact, they are absolutely evil. He shoots Xavier in the head with a slug carrying a new version of the technovirus.
Oh.
Xavier is gunned down, the technovirus takes over his body. The mutants whisk him away, and every single X power is hunting Cable across the globe. It's the X-Men, the X-Force, X-Factor, even Cable's old team is trying to find him. And this begins the saga in the comics known as the Executioner's Song. And this is where we learn the true nature of Stryfe in this conflict between him and Cable. Now, as Stryfe says, but how can they fight the inevitability of time? How can they stop the turning of the day? The crashing of the waves? How can they defeat me when I am there tomorrow? And this is a true Nemesis relationship. Two entities, mirrors of each other, battling back and forth in space and time. Stryfe has laid his plans in motion, and Cable is grasping at the shadows of his movements, one of many pieces that Stryfe is managing. And in fact, everything goes completely according to his plans right up until the very end. For it was Stryfe who shot Xavier. How could this be? Because Stryfe and Cable share a face. Much more than a face, in fact. But Stryfe's plan is not the destruction of mankind or the subjugation of his fellow mutants. It is much more personal. It is to understand why he has suffered such painful solitude, why he was bereft of love and nurture, why these so-called heroes, Jean Grey and Cyclops, would subject him to the painful agony of being cast aside in a wasteland of horrors, to be reared by Apocalypse, used by Apocalypse. And indeed, even Apocalypse does not escape Stryfe's ire. Stryfe stabs him with the very blade with which Apocalypse thought to kill Stryfe, a fitting end as Stryfe could give him. Only, unfortunately, it wasn't his end. Apocalypse escaped to the one place no one expected him to go. Stryfe, the true child of Jean Grey and Scott Summers, abandoned by them, will have his revenge, and Apocalypse is not strong enough to stop him. In fact, Stryfe utterly destroys Apocalypse, his psychic powers and his strength of force overwhelming him. And the combined forces of the X-Men, X-Force, and X-Factor, they're not strong enough either. So what do? Oh yeah, those so-called heroes, they team up with the mutant tyrant Apocalypse. Apocalypse heals Xavier, right? I mean, what is he doing? He's a villain, and he is teaming up with the X-Men. And the X-Forces team up with him to take down Stryfe. They all get in his ship and fly to Apocalypse's old base on the moon, where Stryfe is hunkered down with the rest of his forces. Now, while unexpected, Stryfe is never really out of control. With the powers well beyond those of Jean or Cable, his telekinesis and his telepathy, able to completely constrain Jean Grey and Cyclops in a prison, their powers subdued not by any kind of mutant slave collar, but by his telepathic power. He draws them all into a final battle up on his base on the moon. Jean Grey and Cyclops on display, suffering as he brings Cable in for a final showdown, because Stryfe is not some despicable hero. He wants to fight man to man, like a true, honorable mutant. He brings Cable in and crushes him down. But alas, Stryfe's pride and strength are in fact also his undoing. While he holds Cyclops and Jean in a telepathic prison, he's battling Cable. And, on top of that, is surprised by an attack from Havoc, who shares their blood and has managed to pass through the genetic force field Stryfe had put in place. Battling on two sides, Stryfe's focus weakens, and Jean breaks herself and Cyclops free. Cyclops blasts Stryfe, furious. Stryfe brings the whole base tearing apart, shattering it with his power, and it comes crumbling down on top of them. And while the X-Men cower behind one of Jean Grey's telekinetic bubbles, Stryfe and Cable continue to battle it out to the death. But Cable is a murderer, and he is determined to kill Stryfe. He self-destructs his own computer systems, the one on his arms, built into his body, and throws himself and Stryfe into a time vortex as he explodes. So what do you think? Is it the end of this pair of nemeses? Only
Absolutely.
time
It must be.
will tell.
Oh,
I think we all know that Stryfe maybe has a little bit more to his story, so there must be a little bit more out there. Not to mention the decades that he spent before any of this ever occurs. So there's quite a bit more on him, but I think we're going to revisit Stryfe again. So that's probably enough to fully understand the hatred that they have for one another.
Now, I do want to ask this question. You said that Strife's face is Cable's face?
Yes.
Okay. Who's the clone? Are they twins?
Oh, that's the
man.
question. One is the clone. I think we should let our readers wait until the next Stryfe to find out who is the clone and who is the trueborn son.
Okay. All right.
Got to keep that cliffhanger in there.
Cliffhanger.
Nice.
Well, thanks, man. That was great storytelling.
Yeah, did I hear genetic shield?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Behind a telekinetic bubble, yes.
Okay.
Well, he said something about a shield where like only certain genetics could pass
Yes,
through.
it was
the
a
shield.
genetic. Yes, it was a genetic shield. Indeed, Stryfe is a man ahead of his time. He was able to craft a shield through which only somebody with Summer's blood could pass. So they had to be an offspring of the Summers, and unfortunately, Alex Summers shares way too much blood with Scott Summers and was able to pass through the shield. Always in his brother's shadow, but
yeah. Oops.
Yes.
Well, that was great.
Some wonderful learning there.
This is one of those Nemesis. They kick this box off right. This is a Nemesis that is connected to the character, right? Like there's clearly Stryfe is a good choice for Cable.
He is. If anything, he is perhaps the only choice for Cable. They are like even Apocalypse is not as much of a nemesis for Cable, I think, as Stryfe is.
Fair.
It's clear that Stryfe knows a lot more than Cable does, based on what we know at least so far. Cable has no clue. He was completely shocked that Stryfe looked the same as he did. He did not know who he was. But Stryfe, on the other hand, knows exactly who Cable is.
He's the smart one. Makes sense.
He's a smart one.
All right. Well, should we look at some cards then?
Let's do it.
I think we
First
should.
Set of cards. All right. So the Cable Nemesis comes in the next evolution box. It's it comes with one of the two quote unquote heroes in the box. 5 total cards, 5 by title, plus the obligation. And Mike, you're here to read the obligation.
Huzzah!
Thank goodness.
Ooh,
Yeah, I guess
all
so.
is right in the world. Okay.
This is the Technovirus Resurgence. Give to the Nathan Summers player. When revealed, search your deck, discard pile, hand, and victory display for Technovirus Purge and put it into play. Do the shuffle. Attach this card to Technovirus Purge. If you cannot, discard this card and deal yourself 1 face-down encounter card. It has an acceleration icon and 2 boost icons.
Okay.
What an unusual and awesome, because of that, obligation.
Yeah. Sticks in
Yeah, I
play,
love this.
but on the side quest.
Yep.
So the card it's searching for, the Technovirus Purge, is the Cable player side scheme that comes in his hero pack that, once only he can thwart it, and once he clears it, his stats will go up by 1. It's, pretty important
Pretty cheaty.
card, I think, in this kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives him the
Um,
psionic trait as well. He doesn't have
Right.
psionic until he completes that.
Yeah. So then this card just says, go find it, even in the victory display. So
That's
even
my
if you have
favorite part as a villain.
yes, you have Cable has completed it. It goes in the victory display. It's doing all the player side scheme shenanigans because this is the sets where that now becomes a thing. Pulls it right back out. His stats go down. All the numbers on his other cards go down, and he has to do it all over again because this attaches to that side scheme, and that side scheme sits out. And the only way to get rid of this card is to clear that side scheme.
And the best part is it just goes to the discard pile.
That's right.
Haha.
It will never be out of the game like all the other ones. Love it.
Then it, if you can't do it, it just kind of searches, right? So.
Right. And Steve, did they change the go search and find or whatever rule to be just look at everyone's encounter cards? Or no?
No, they have not. That's like the one spot that it doesn't go.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. Because that's the only way, right? It would ever be unfound in this scenario is that someone has already had it dealt to them. Player 3
Or
has
it's already in play.
Well, it can't.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Oh wait, no, because it says
No,
attached.
even if it's in play,
Even
this
if it's in
card,
play, this goes
Technovirus
right on
Researcher
it.
gets attached to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way that it doesn't grab it because Technovirus Purge is a player card, right? So if it's in the discard pile, if it's in your player deck, or if it's out of play, or if it's in play, it searches all of those.
Oh, that's a good
places.
point. Yeah.
So
yeah.
no, the only way it doesn't actually go and get it is if you're playing, say, against Kang, and you've got that obligation where it says put the top 8 cards of your deck face down under this obligation,
True.
and it happens to be one of
Oh,
those.
okay.
Any card that does that, because
Yeah,
it's
like
not
Bastion's
searching for,
machinations.
yeah, it's not searching for a face down location. But otherwise, yeah,
Fun.
it's going on it. So
Well,
That's right.
I've played a
True.
couple games where people are playing Cable. He's really stupidly powerful. I like that he has a tough obligation.
oh, it has to have
I
a hard
agree.
one.
He has to. I
Yeah.
mean, he's bonkers. Although now after the con, I believe Drax is the most powerful hero in the game.
I didn't actually play with anybody playing Cable at the con, which was shocking to me.
That is shocking.
Yeah, I know people had them, but we never played with them.
Yeah.
So
Anyway, great obligation, Mike. What do you think?
It is.
No, everything you said. I've played Cable once. Yeah.
and end of
Never
comment.
again.
End of comment.
Yeah.
I think I've played him through Next Evolution with at least one other hero 3 times, like through the whole campaign, and he just crushes. I think he's exceptionally strong.
He's very powerful.
Yeah.
And I was going to say he's enjoyable to play, but I don't want to go down that road and get accused of being hero
And, he's very
sympathizer.
cheaty,
Yes.
he's very cheaty.
Very cheaty, yeah.
for sure.
Watch out, villains. But enough about heroes. Let's talk about a minion here. Scott, you're up. Man of the hour.
Indeed. More than just a minion, but here he is a nemesis because he is villainous. His name is, you guessed it, Stryfe.
Okay, wait. Before we go any further, this name is spelled as if I typed it. What is going on? Like, I don't think that's how you spell the word strife, right? I mean,
Well, I'm pretty sure Scott's mispronouncing the guy's name. I believe it's Stryfe.
Stryfe.
strife.
Yeah.
He's French. Strife.
Well, no, it would have the little accent over the E if it was. That's why I think it's Stryfe.
Stryfe.
Probably Scandinavian, maybe. I don't know.
All right,
Where
sorry.
did you say it was
I
from? 3029?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
Go
Did Mike
go
say
ahead.
he had to leave?
So we have Stryfe. He is a minion with 2 scheme, 2 attack, and 5 health. He has the Mutant Liberation Front trait and the Psionic trait. He is villainous. He is no ordinary minion. He is not elite, which does surprise me a little bit,
No.
but he has a forced interrupt that when a player plays a psionic event, cancel the effects of that event and deal 1 damage to Stryfe. He has 3 boost icons as well.
As he should.
So he's going to hurt regardless of whether you get him as a boost or he comes out on the table.
Yeah. I have found his net force interrupt is potent. Like
It is
'Cause-
so potent.
yeah, Cable has a bunch of psionic events, and he wants to play them, for like 12 damage or something ridiculous like that because he's
Right.
cleared all these player side schemes. But instead, it gets canceled, and you do 1 damage to Strife.
Yeah. Then the
Yeah.
poor guy has to rely on his base, normal attack of 27 or whatever he gets by the time.
Well, yeah, usually
Yeah.
it's only like a 3. But yeah,
But also, what I like about this too, Steve, is that Mr. Summers hangs out with a lot of psionic friends too.
right.
He does.
Does.
So this is great. Yeah,
Yeah.
It takes an event to one-shot him, right? For the most part,
Correct.
almost always. So yeah,
And
he might
unfortunately-
actually stick around.
7 out of the 15 cards in Cable's kit are psionic events.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
about half of your kit cards you can't play while Stryfe is on the table. And that's fitting because Strife's telekinetic power is greater than Cable's. So Cable's not doing anything with his telekinesis when Stryfe is there. And in fact, neither are any of the other psionics because he has so much psionic power, at least in the early comics, that nobody else could really do anything. At least not while he was focused on them. So I love this forced interrupt. It's very on theme, I think.
Yeah. It's hilarious because you don't have to target him. Even if you're targeting the villain or another
Yeah.
minion, he still takes away your psionic power. And it's when a player plays it,
Correct.
Yeah.
not a hero, which means Jean
Nope.
Grey can't sit back and psionic manipulate anybody.
Yeah, sadly, in a 4-player game, it's pretty easy to get rid of Stryfe.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
but Solo
realistically,
Cable's going to struggle with him a bit for sure.
I mean, really, one swing with Cable and a shot from his plasma rifle is most likely gonna finish off Stryfe, right? He doesn't have tough, and he doesn't have quick strike, so there's a good chance that he's not gonna stick around. Unfortunately, I really wish there was
Right.
something that kind of gave him a little bit more sticking power because that forced interrupt is amazing.
Well, there's the sci-fi environment from Mojo.
That's true. Give
Gives
him
him
all
quick
tough,
strike.
or gives him
Or is
quick
that the
strike.
tough one?
Oh, that's
I don't know
the
what's the quick strike
Wild
one?
West gives them quick strike.
Wild West, yeah.
Yeah, he needs tough, not quick strike, so much. But yeah,
Well,
I think his cancellation ability is better than just like his 2 attack with villainous, which is also good.
sure. Yeah.
But yeah, he's a good Nemesis minion.
He is very good.
Nice. But he's got to be trying to do something, right? That's what these Nemesis do. All right. His side scheme is Back to the Future. The Cable player cannot remove threat from schemes other than Back to the Future. Other players cannot remove threat from Back to the Future. The Cable player cannot damage enemies not engaged with them. Other players cannot damage minions engaged with the Cable player. 4 threat, 2 boost icons.
That's a lot of text to just say Cable's not here, he's in the future.
He's back in the future.
He's back 2/ in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they could have just said the Cable player isolates themselves.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's right.
It looks like Cable can't damage the villain either.
Right.
Yeah.
Are villains not engaged with you all the time?
Don't think so.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, he's stuck. Nobody's going to remove threat from this except for him, and nobody's hurting the things in front of him, but he can't hurt anything else. I don't think that they're considered a villain is considered engaged with a player.
I never knew that. I always assumed they were since they attack everyone.
Because most cards will say like deal damage. Choose a player, deal damage to the villain and each minion engaged with that player. They could easily just say deal damage
to all
to
things
all
engaged.
enemies.
To all
engaged.
enemies engaged.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
They don't say
I
that.
guess I never thought about it because it's
Right.
It basically is they're engaged with you, but I get for word nonsense, it has to be that way, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can maybe we'll get an input from our rules gurus out there, but that sounds right to me. I don't think
right.
the villains have ever described as engaged with the player. And that makes sense because he's not around, right? He's stuck in the future. If this comes out, right, Shadows of the Past comes out, then he's dragged back to the future by Stryfe and has to fight Stryfe to get his way back out of the future, right?
Yeah, and Stryfe and Back to the Future are both coming out with Shadows of the Past, similar effect at the same time. Yep. So, sure, that 4-player game comes up, Daniel, but
all that stuff we said is a lie the first time. Yep.
Right, nobody can attack Stryfe except for Cable, and he's got to decide what he wants to do. He's got to go after Stryfe. He's going to go from Back to the Future. Yeah, it's cool.
That's awesome. He could be gone for a while.
Okay, so the Back to the Future side scheme is okay, but realistically, Cable's not lasting too long there.
Well, one of the amazing things I think is that with Back to the Future, right? If Cable's on the board or if Stryfe is on the board, then you're probably able to do one or the other, but not both. And if Cable doesn't have the ability to defeat Stryfe, maybe you're already exhausted, you defended, you can't do enough damage, you can't hit him with a telekinetic blast because it's psionic.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get rid of him. And you can't play your mind scan to try to clear the side scheme because it's also psionic. So if it comes out at the right time and you're exhausted, nobody else can help you take out Stryfe. And so Stryfe is more likely to stay on the board. And his forced response still triggers against everybody else. So by pulling that apart, he does create that dynamic where if he comes out from Shadows of the Past, it is really hard to eliminate him if Cable isn't ready and has his rifle out or some other access to damage, right, from allies or something like that.
Right. Okay, so let's say I'm playing Cable, it's Steve's playing, I don't know, someone else. Steve draws my Stryfe. I draw Back to the Future.
Right.
Steve can say, I'm not going to kill Stryfe, and it will still impact me.
And you can't play your thwart event.
Okay, but really, realistically, he's got a thwart of 2, so he's getting out of there on the second turn, no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So Cable can't play his mind scan when those cards are out, but Stryfe can play his mind scan, which is the next treachery card.
Boom.
Boom. It is a psionic traded card. When revealed, place 2 threat on the main scheme. Place 1 additional threat on the main scheme for each side scheme in the victory display. As a special boost, you are confused. Okay. Could be a big bump in threat if Cable's doing what Cable does.
I'd like to discuss this further after the next one.
Okay.
The telekinetic blast, which is a treachery, and it's the other one, right? It's a psionic. When revealed, take 2 damage. Take 1 additional damage for each side scheme in the victory display. With the boost effect, you are stunned. Okay, so I've seen these Cable decks with like 15 side schemes, and you might be thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is going to one-shot Cable." No, it won't, because if Cable's got 15 side schemes in the victory display, he's already won. So realistically, what it's like mid-game, this is doing really awesome. Maybe you're taking 4 threat or 4 damage.
Well, I think it's interesting that it scales as Cable scales, right? So, we're getting that very thematic element of like Stryfe and Cable are mirrors of one another. They're the same genetics. One is a clone of the other to some degree. And so the stronger that Cable is getting with those side schemes in the victory display, the stronger Stryfe is getting. If these manage to come in, obviously, and actually get pulled and come out.
Right.
I have seen them usually do about 5. There's usually about 3 to 4 side schemes in the victory display by the time one of these come out. Sometimes more, which is pretty. That's a lot.
Hit your friends.
Yeah, they hit your friends. But putting 5 on the main scheme, if you're on solo, right?
Yeah, they can push it over easy.
That could be game ending very quickly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And there is no way to pull your side schemes out of the victory display. So if you do have 10 in there, too bad.
That's it. You did it.
Yeah, I think the Brant and Step Into the Portal, their show did a stream where they were playing Cable against Hella and trying to get as many side schemes in the victory display as possible. And I think they probably had over 15, in there. And they had to have cancels for Cable's Nemesis sets, because when they came up, it literally would have one-shot any one of them if Telekinetic Blast came up. And it did a couple of times. If they had not had treachery cancels in hand, ready to get rid of those, it absolutely would have wiped out one of the heroes playing. So I love that. I love that his treacheries are pretty ferocious if you're getting Cable built. Although, like you said, if you have that many, you're just playing around. At that point, Cable's just playing with his food. He could easily end the game at any point.
Yeah.
And in the olden times, you had to draw Shadow of the Past.
That's right. It is better now with
some people. Did you know, Stephen?
Standard
Some people allow you to cancel Shadow of the Past. Did you know that?
What? That's criminal.
I know. There are people who play that you can do
Inconceivable.
that.
Do that.
Clearly, nobody who listens to this show would ever cancel.
We would never do that.
So yay, Standard 3.
Yep.
Great.
Yeah. Standard 3 is a great option. You will get these shuffled in at some point. It will happen.
this will happen.
Yes, you will.
Yes. Yeah. I think they're a great mechanical and thematic play on Cable. These are great Nemesis cards. He gets better. These get better. So I do like that.
Yeah.
Even if maybe what Mike said is true, they just seem right. They just feel like, yes, these are good cards.
Yeah, I haven't played Cable yet, but these cards would get me these cards would get me thinking about flooding the victory display with side schemes.
Or at least you're going to be aware of them. That Shadows of the Past hits, they're in the deck. You're like, okay, what happens? Can I handle 7 threat at once? Can I handle this? Yeah. You got to be aware that they exist.
But I'm a little sad that they don't have boost icons, right? All we have is the special effect that either you're confused or you're stunned. I would like to see them have 1 or 2 boost icons in addition to the confuse and the stun. I think that would make them a little bit more meaningful as it is. It's like if you're stalwart, if you have a hero who's steady, it's not.
Reveal this card would be great.
Reveal this card would be awesome, but
all right. Well, there's one more card to reveal.
One more thing.
Scott, why don't you do it?
All right. So that is the Telekinetic Force Field. It is an attachment. It has the psionic trait. It says attach to Stryfe. Otherwise, attach to the villain. It has a forced interrupt. When attached character would take any amount of damage, prevent that damage. If 2 or more damage was prevented this way, discard this card. And its boost effect is to attach this card to the activating enemy. It has 1 boost icon. I like this. It's interesting that it's like you have to do, much like I think Violent Tendencies was, you had to do a certain amount of damage for it to come off. You have to do at least 2 damage. You can't ping this with an ally to get rid of it, right? You can't ping it with a electrostatic armor or a energy shield or anything like that. You really got to hit him to knock off this force field.
Yep. I love it. I love that.
Yeah, no
Exactly
army
what you
of
said.
ants, no squirrel girl, right? It's only doing 1, preventing that 1, and it's not going away. So, let's say Stryfe. Shadows of Past hits. Stryfe is in play. Stryfe activates against you, and this is the boost card that Stryfe gets because he's villainous. It gets attached to the activating enemy, so he now has it, which means every time you play a psionic card, you cancel the psionic card, and he takes 1 damage, which is prevented, so this doesn't go away.
That's right.
That is the magical Christmas
about that
land.
interaction.
Yeah, that is the magical
That's
Christmas land.
awesome.
He also he'll wear this thing before he can retaliate too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it makes him immune to retaliate.
Yeah, he's canceling the card and preventing the damage that you would normally do to him, and this just sticks out. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's not damage from an attack. It's any damage. So unlike Venom or whoever, where it's like, oh well, you just death
Right.
from 1,000 cuts, you play defense, play protection or whatever, and kill him that way, and he can't do anything about it. He is impervious to your weak, green type attacks and efforts.
Yeah, and it's fun because it's going to go on Stryfe if it's revealed as an encounter card, or the villain. So somebody gets it, or it could end up on another minion that has villainous. So this is one of those times where they change the wording a little bit. Attach this card to the activating enemy. So even if they are scheming, a villainous minion that's scheming, this gets to go on them. So it could end up on a third party other than Stryfe or the villain as well. Somebody else's Nemesis.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that.
Yeah, I really like it. This is a great card.
Well, there's our set. That's our Nemesis.
Brilliant.
Let's
Brilliant.
talk. Yeah. Overall, feels like theme is good. Like he's the right Nemesis. Obviously, it makes sense. Scott, you told us about his powers and stuff. It seems like these cards make sense thematically for power. They're mechanically tied to Cable. I like this Nemesis. I think this is a quality Nemesis set.
Well, I'll jump in. I agree, Steve. This is fantastic. Yeah, based on the story Scott told us, and I love that. Just as as I love the idea as Cable strengthens, so does Stryfe. I think that's great. Super cool. Now, Steve, I know you don't give these letter grades, but I'm going to give this one an A for sure.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I think it's great. What about you, Mike?
Sorry, I think my mic was not working properly. This is a reasonably good set.
Reasonably good.
It's the lack of boost icons. It's the fact that Stryfe has 5 health, but it's got potential. This is one of those. Sometimes it doesn't hit, and then sometimes it just smacks you in the face. And
Right.
That can be fun on its own. I'm going to give this a B+.
Well, what about on a Shadow of the Past turn, Mike? What grade do you give it then? Like it comes out as it's supposed to. In a 3-player game, the 3 of us are playing. You're Cable.
Yeah.
This shows up in Shadow of the Past. Steve and I can't help you.
You've already defended.
You've already defended because you only play green.
You know what? I think this is why I like it, because I'm probably not playing Cable, so I'm probably getting really mad at whoever's playing Cable right now. Why the hell did you put that many cards in the victory display?
Look what you've done to us.
I never wanted.
I'm trying to
that
play
free-
Star-Lord, and now I'm going to get all these telekinetic blasts.
I never wanted that free helicarrier you gave me. Yeah. No, it's funny. You're right though, Mike. The timing is important in this particular Nemesis, but that obligation too is what also helps make the set for me. I love that it is a constantly appearing scourge, just as it should be.
Scott, what are your thoughts? You got to give it a grade. Final thoughts.
I think I have to give it an A. It may be an A-. just because I think it's unlikely that you're gonna get everything kind of coming out and hitting you in a game, like actually having Stryfe come out, actually having him get the telekinetic force field to where he's really gonna be as annoying as he should be. I don't think that happens very often, but when it does, I think it's amazing. And I think he's annoying enough that you never are just gonna want to leave him on the board. Right, that's just you're never going to leave him. Like, you are at least going to need to take him out. So to some degree, it's almost as if he has guard, unless you're just pushing through to end. But if you're playing Cable, you need your telekinetic blast to deal the damage to finish out the game, right? You need to play your mind scan to make sure that the main scheme's not popping, and he's gonna stop that until you get rid of him. So in many ways, he effectively has guard and patrol for Cable, which I think is awesome. So at least an A-, maybe an A for me.
Okay.
Right
Well,
on. There you have it, folks.
Yeah, it's a strong start to the new next evolution wave. Yeah.
Ooh.
Scott, thanks for coming on. Thanks for an excellent lore.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Scott.
Thank you so much.
It was my joy.
We did have an issue with Carl the Minion. I guess he got sucked into a TV that is missing. There's a little bit of a mess left over from that, so we're going to have to get you to deal with that. I think you know what I'm talking about.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, Scott. You stole the TV.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The Lord Mojo requires sacrifices. And you know what? That's just Carl's fault. He shouldn't have been hanging out in front of the TV. It's very clearly marked that is there for me to engage with Lord Mojo.
Mike, can you hit a button on the remote that gets our TV back?
Well, no, but I got the next best thing. Pain.
Yeah, that's great, Mike, but I still don't have a TV.
Well, Mike, maybe some listeners want to give us a TV. How would they do that?
Oh my gosh. If you want to give us a TV, you can email us at criticalencounterspod@gmail.com. We are Critical Encounters on Facebook, and you can find our YouTube, Twitch, or Patreon by searching for Critical Encounters Podcast. And on Discord, we are Vardy, Big Phone Love, Wandering Tooth, and joining us tonight was Lexicon. If you like our show, tell your friends. If you don't like our show, tell your enemies. But seriously, get us a TV. Stryfe, take us out.
Regardless of who is the clone, Cable, it is my power that is superior.
So, can I tell you a fun Norwegian fact that I learned today?
Yeah.
Of course.
I got to know this stuff because I'm going to Norway.
Well, their word for monkey is apekatten, which translates to ape cat.
Oh my God.
Interesting.
And I thought about like the etymology, like how in the world does that make sense? No other language has, as far as I know, maybe other Scandinavian ones do, but like ape cat is monkey
because apes don't have tails.
Right. And the monkey is like a cat version of the ape.
But it has a cat tail. So it's like an ape with a cat's tail.